Welcome back, everyone. Today's explainer is, well, it's something truly special. We're going to dive right into this profoundly moving personal narrative about the lived reality of severe short term memory loss. And we'll be looking at it through the eyes of a woman named Amber. Now, this isn't just some dry, clinical look at a medical diagnosis, not at all. It's this deeply human story about what it actually takes to navigate life when your own mind just keeps resetting the clock. So, let's jump right in. Let's start with this thought right here. Forgetting things is hard, but being forgotten by the people who should love you is harder. Wow. That emotional hook tells us right out of the gate that we're dealing with way more than just a physical condition here. It's really about that fundamental human search for belonging, for acceptance, and for love. You see, for Amber, her memory loss wasn't just a logistical nightmare of losing her keys. It acted as this massive barrier to getting the parental love she absolutely craved. Section 1. The reality of forgetting. To really grasp Amber's journey, we've got to rewind a bit and look at her early childhood conflicts. Okay, I want you to literally put yourself in Amber's shoes for a second. Think about this. What happens when you completely forget a sentence right in the middle of saying it? Imagine how incredibly frustrating that would be. When Amber was just 4 years old, her older brother pulled a prank and tied her pacifier to her back. She actually watched him do it. But get this, like 10 seconds later, she was sobbing, waking up the whole neighborhood frantically searching for it. That was just her everyday reality. I mean, she would be calling out to her own siblings and literally forget their names mid-sentence. So, by the time she hit 6 years old, this persistent inability to retain immediate information finally led to an official diagnosis: severe short-term memory loss, right alongside learning disabilities. To give you a real picture of what life at home looked like, picture this. She'd finish watching a cartoon, the credits would roll, and she would instantly turn and ask, "Hey, can we watch Dora now?" As if the show hadn't just ended 2 seconds ago. And this dynamic brilliantly illustrates the two very different support systems pulling at Amber growing up. On one side, you've got her mother. She was someone who heavily valued outward appearances. So to her, Amber's diagnosis was this shameful family secret that needed to be swept under the rug. But then, on the flip side, you have her father. He was this humble, super laid-back genius programmer. He offered her absolute, unconditional acceptance and just never compared her to her high-achieving siblings. But sadly, her mother's constant rejection planted a really deep seed of insecurity inside Amber. Section 2. The Notebook Coping Mechanism. So how do you navigate a world that constantly slips away from you? Well, Amber had to figure that out. Enter Miss Smart. She was a new English teacher who completely flipped Amber's trajectory upside down. Instead of punishing Amber for forgetting things, which unfortunately is exactly what all her previous teachers did, Miss Smart chose kindness over strict rules. She actually worked with Amber, teaching her these memory retention games. Under her guidance, Amber finally stopped feeling like this broken girl and started feeling like a truly capable student. And most importantly, Miss Smart gave Amber her absolute lifeline: a physical notebook. This notebook basically became Amber's external brain. It was a safe, physical place to document the life that was constantly fading from her mind. But, every hero's journey has its heartbreaks. Miss Smart eventually had to move away. There was this violent altercation at her home involving her boyfriend's really disrespectful son, and she just had to leave. And when she did, Amber wrote this absolutely devastating entry. It read, "Note number 12, Miss SM left today and Mom's going to make my life even harder." She lost her primary mentor, she lost her anchor, and she was left completely alone to face her mother's incredibly harsh expectations. Section 3. The Social Toll. As Amber grew into adolescence, things got really tough socially, bringing on some pretty painful betrayals. Just take a look at her chaotic educational timeline. Back in elementary school, she was completely lost in her ordinary classes. I mean, she practically just slept on her desk. Then, by middle school, the embarrassment of being pulled out for the special resource room got so bad that she started faking these wildly elaborate excuses, like claiming she had to attend a cousin's wedding just to avoid the humiliation. Naturally, this made her mother furious, who then forced Amber into expensive private classes and actually deducted the cost straight from Amber's own allowance. Rough, right? Right around this time, Amber accidentally threw a football with this incredible pinpoint precision during a school fight, and it impressed everyone, even the principal. Desperate to capitalize on this, and finally, win her mother's approval, Amber went on this frantic search for hidden talent. She tried cheerleading, but she kept forgetting to actually show up to practice. She tried painting, completely froze up, and accidentally painted her teacher to look like Shrek. She even tried singing,
only for some kid with a violin to brutally suggest she take up cooking instead. It's kind of funny looking back for sure, but it really highlights this deep, desperate need she had to just be valued.
But the absolute hardest social blow came from a boy named Cliff. Amber thought she had finally found real romance. Cliff would ask her deep questions. He spent tons of time with her. He really made her feel special. That is, of course, until she found a hidden audio recorder tucked right under his notebook. Turns out he wasn't dating her at all. He was using her condition as a secret long-term psychology research project. He literally saw her as a clinical test subject. As you can imagine, that betrayal absolutely shattered her ability to trust anyone. Section 4. Finding True Belonging. Okay, let's dive into this turning point where she finally finds a community that fully accepts her. So Amber eventually transferred to a special education high school, and it was a total game changer. This was a place that actively normalized neurodivergence. She ended up meeting this fiercely loyal friend named Samantha, who, by the way, carried a teddy bear absolutely everywhere she went. Suddenly, Amber carrying the notebook around wasn't weird at all. It was just as normal as Samantha's teddy bear. Finding this community completely accelerated Amber's self-acceptance. For the first time ever, she didn't have to hide who she was. 135. That is the massive number of driving lessons it took for Amber to finally get her license. Just to put that into perspective, her siblings took about 10 or 12. But this massive number actually led to something pretty amazing. Because her 14th driving test happened to fall on the exact same day as her oral SATs. She was rushing around and ended up having this hilarious, totally memorable interaction with her SAT proctor, a guy named Rye. And that random chance meeting actually blossomed into a beautiful, lasting relationship.
Section 5. The Ultimate Memory Test. And this brings us to the biggest, most profound challenge of her life: motherhood.
Amber became pregnant, and obviously that brought on entirely new anxieties for her. Would she remember how to be a good mom? Could she safely take care of a baby? And to really ground this narrative in reality, consider this hyper-specific detail: an $800 hospital MRI bill. During an ultrasound with our highly critical mother right there in the room, a super stressed doctor ordered a totally unnecessary full-body MRI, slapping them with this huge $800 charge. It just perfectly encapsulates the stressful, very tangible reality of her medical care and this chaotic energy that was just constantly surrounding her.
Fast forward to after her baby girl Stella is born, and we hit this massive crisis point. Baby Stella spikes a super high fever while Rye happens to be away. Amber completely panics, rushes to the hospital, and crucially, she forgets her notebook. Without her external brain, the nurses start aggressively interrogating her on exact feeding and diaper times. Amber just freezes. In that high-stakes environment, she emotionally regresses right back to her childhood traumas. The heavy judgment from those nurses felt exactly like being bullied by her old teachers. She suffers a massive panic attack right there, absolutely terrified that they're going to take her baby away just because she's abnormal.
Okay, so here's where it gets incredible. In the midst of this complete hospital panic, a familiar voice calls out her name. It's Miss Smart. Her childhood mentor magically appears at that exact hospital at the exact right time. Miss Smart steps right in, fiercely advocates for Amber to the police and the nurses, and explains her condition exactly like she did all those years ago. She looks Amber right in the eye and completely validates her capacity to be a good mother, reminding her that needing a little help doesn't erase her beautiful, kind heart. With her confidence finally restored, Amber moves to a supportive beachside community with Rye, and they raise Stella surrounded by people who truly understand her. Which brings us to this incredibly poignant quote from her notebook. Note number 130,891. Stella said she loved me. Appointments, random dates, facts, sure, they might fade from her mind within hours, but that deep, profound feeling of being seen and being loved, that is absolutely permanent. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. I want to leave you with a powerful question to think about. If your memories of dates and facts were completely wiped away tomorrow, how would the love of the people around you keep you anchored to who you really are?